Father, this banana is excessively large. I am unable to consume it. Greetings, I am. Sophia, at 2 years of age, I reside with. My father, I have been an orphan from childhood. My mother abandoned me because of a severe sickness, leaving my father and me to rely on one another. Subsequent childhood years elapsed in the affection and unwavering dedication of my father. My father William was both a father and a mother, attempting to atone for the deficiencies resulting from the absence of my maternal existence. This persisted in a tranquil and accustomed manner until one pivotal day that transformed all aspects of my life. The inception occurred when I turned 18, merely commencing university, that served as a significant turning point, signifying my maturation and venturing into the broader world. I retain a vivid recollection of the sensation of confusion during my initial departure. From my cherished residence I departed, from the safeguarding embrace of my father, to confront a new existence, replete with obstacles. I faced challenges as an ordinary girl at that moment, unaware of the intricacies of affection. My connections were characterized by purity and fullness of spirit, with an eagerness to explore and acquire knowledge. The innovations introduced by the university in the initial period were all novel, and it was exhilarating to forge friendships with numerous individuals from various backgrounds, recounting significant narratives and recollections amidst the bustle and clamor of the lecture hall and the dormitory. There were instances when I longed for home, exceedingly distressed whenever I contemplated my father. My heart was filled with incomprehensible yearning for his likeness, caring for me by narrating stories about my mother in tranquility during the nights. His eyes consistently appeared melancholic, yet brimming with depth. Affection persistently occupied my thoughts. All appeared to be proceeding seamlessly until that pivotal day. A day I could always remember. That was the pivotal event that transformed my life in a very different direction. While altering everything I understood, it was not merely a pivotal moment in adulthood, but furthermore a significant challenge. To my perception, I no longer felt like an innocent young woman who was solely acquainted with happiness and uncomplicated pleasures. On that day, I commenced my voyage of confrontation with intricate feelings and circumstances that I had never anticipated yet. Here I had created friends who had recently commenced their university studies, similar to men who, nevertheless, they differed from me. They were not uncomplicated girls like myself. They were aware of how to visit bars and engage in thrilling activities, the parties, and generally, they were aware of the social dynamics. We cohabited with both boys and girls in a compact dormitory accommodation within the educational institution, occupying a confined area, yet abundant in amusement and perpetuity. It was more tranquil. A sore housemates departed, everyone returned home to relish the summer vacation. An unusual sensation avoid the absence of humor. Nocturnal excursions or extended dark narratives enriched my understanding of how I was accustomed to that lifestyle. My journey commenced when I arrived home. As I had just entered the residence, I observed my father seated, his gaze fixed on the television screen, unable to recognize my return. Upon witnessing that scene, I felt a sense of mischief. I decided to gradually approach and intimidate him. Tome astonishment. I proceeded cautiously, step by step, endeavoring to minimize Noah's incrementally advancing towards him. When my hand was approximately near, I tapped my father's shoulder to startle him. He abruptly pivoted, seized my hand, and drew me into his embrace. "You're turned," without informing me, his voice resonated passionately. We both erupted, bursting into laughter, surprise, and joy pirouetted the atmosphere. I gazed at him, pondering how he was aware of my presence, inquired directly of Dad. Ash was nearing, the mirror positioned parallel to me. I turned around and observed the cause. The mirror had mirrored my every action, informing him of my intentions. From the outset, I erupted in laughter, experiencing both mortification and amusement by this revelation. My father chuckled, in agreement, his eyes gleaming with warmth and affection, with which I had long been acquainted. Subsequent to conversing and sharing laughter for a period, I rose and informed Dad that I needed to retrieve my suitcase and return to my room. Requested, maintaining a soft grin, I proceeded to the luggage area. Observing his expression and experiencing the tranquility and warmth of the house is a structure that encompasses numerous elements, recollections, and the effect of affection that my father possessed. The afternoon air was tranquilly and not silent, filled with the presence of my father. That evening, my father and I were present dining amid the tranquil ambience tisai, commenced discussing the house, recalling the days that had elapsed during the previous academic year. We shared laughter and humor, collectively. At times he would exhibit Audrey's smile, while recounting stories, gazing at me with kind eyes. At that moment, I abruptly comprehended a fact. My father is now quite beautiful, but he is about 50 years old. He still preserves the physique of a youthful male, possibly due to his passion for physical activity and the arduous daily labor that assists him in sustaining it. He had robust musculature, while donning only a tank top, exposing his strength at that moment. I observed his muscles, beauty, and strength. With an unusual appearance, I gazed at him. Difficult to divert, and my train of thoughts abruptly transformed into disorder. My father's loud voice abruptly roused me from my contemplation. "What are you thinking?" I was taken aback. I offered a faint smile and shook my head, in negation indicating my disbelief. Father and son exchanged glances alternatively. The beaming father remarked that I had only attended school for a year. However, I had transformed abundantly. I nodded, smiled, and responded, "You are all mature." That evening, when I reclined in bed, the depiction of my father's robust musculature manifested in my consciousness, evoking a sensation of perplexity. I never anticipated I would possess such enduring reflections on my father. However, that vision has remained indelibly etched in my memory. Upon closing my eyes the following day, the oppressive heat of midday was unpleasant. I found it uncomfortable to sit in the living room. It seemed as if beads of perspiration were cascading along my spine. Regardless of my efforts, waving a hand fan proved ineffective. Each gust of wind that passed appeared to be immediately dispersed by the intense heat. William, the individual I was unable to refrain from surreptitiously observing, left home early for work that morning, to attend affairs and return. Today at noon, the suffocation endured for an extended duration led me to feel as if every cell in my skin was poised to burst. I could no longer endure the burning sensation and chose to enter the bathroom. Water flowed chilly, and in contact with my flesh, each droplets swiftly erased the intense frustrations within my body, enhancing my emotions. The sensation of comfort was exceedingly delightful. At that moment, I nearly overlooked everything surrounding me, including securing the bathroom door. Each droplet of chilly water cascaded down my shoulders and back with each surge of water. It appeared to tenderly soothe the intense heat in my heart, compelling me to close my eyes and permit relaxation to permeate. The expanse appeared to be occupied solely by the sound of flowing water and my consistent breathing as I breathed. My mind reverted to the instances I had surreptitiously observed, William watching him labor from the window with focused determination. Each motion was confident in his gaze concentrated subsequent to entry. Something within me had transformed at the university. My admiration for him diminished, progressively converting into a profound emotion that was difficult to identify. Thereafter, an unusual, strange feeling overcame me, prompting me to waken my awareness to the sensation that another stood observing with focused attention. I turned my head and became still when I locked eyes with William. He had returned at a certain moment. I was positioned at the door. His gaze remained directed at me through the opening of his eyes. I did not perceive the half-closed door. His face was immobilized in a blink, an inexpressible manifestation, a blend of astonishment and an element I could not articulate. My heart was racing. My chest was constricted and my legs were rigid and immobile. My breathing became altered and intermittent, uneasy. Quiet enveloped the environment, characterized solely by the sound of flowing water with each second, appearing to elongate the exterior. Felt infinite. At that instant, we both recognized that we had surpassed a specific threshold. The stillness was abruptly interrupted upon my speaking. My voice shook. "Father, You have returned." William was alarmed, as though he had just been roused from a dream. High's eyes glimmered with evident bewilderment. He blinked constantly, surveying the surroundings, as though seeking a justification for his presence. His grip on the strap of his backpack intensified, quivering subtly, in accordance with his rhythm Maya. "I apologize. I did not anticipate." His voice trailed off. His gaze was averted and his demeanor appeared despondent, although he was unable to conceal the redness on his cheeks. We both remained in that position, our cheeks touching the confined atmosphere surrounding us. The auditory sensation of water continued to flow, in a manner reminiscent of humor, telling us that we were positioned on the edge of something profound. I clenched my hands at the precipice of taboo, experiencing the chill of every droplet of liquid descending to the ground, endeavoring tostival. The nebulous sentiments agental breeze was rising through the partially ajar window, compelling me to tremble. This feeling was involuntary, and dual, humiliating and intolerable. Our gazes met once again, intersecting in a tacit manner. The confession was made. Then the individual turned and hastily retreated. The space reverted to the living room silence, although my heart continued to race, interspersed with bewilderment and disorder. After some time, I exited their stream room while enveloped in a towel. The water continued to glitter on my wet skin. The hazy steam in the chamber wafted, intermingling with the heated atmosphere of that oppressively hot afternoon. I entered the living room, my heart racing within my chest. I observed William seated there, his shirt adhering to his physique, saturated in glistening perspiration. His gaze intersected with mine for an instant, then I was swiftly evaded, as though gazing directly at me was no longer the naive girl I once was. I suddenly experienced an overwhelming sense of audacity. I smiled as I approached him, yuck stride, laden with longing, taking a seat immediately adjacent to him. The proximity between us was so close that his breath fanned against my skin. "Did you observe everything just now?" I expressed a wish with a faint smile, as if this was merely a trivial narrative. William's hardened brown eyes gleamed in the living room light, crimson resembling fire illuminating his face. He hesitated, appearing strained, timid and clumsy, endeavoring to articulate unsuccessfully. "Father, it is not him." He muttered, his hands gripping the front of his shirt, attempting to conceal the rising tension. Our gazes intersected once more, and I perceived the conflict. "Present the conflict between reason and emotion. Do not elude me," I asserted, gently, my gaze fixed upon his. The space between us seemed to last an extended duration. He was frozen, moistening his parched lips, preparing to speak, when an interruption occurred. We both recognized that the distinction between good and wrong had become indistinct. William inhaled deeply, his hands trembling slightly as they reclined upon mine. "This is unacceptable," he remarked, shrugging his shoulders. His speech was subdued, directed more towards himself than to me. Yet I did not permit him to cease. A peculiar, strong sensation permeated his eyes as he regarded me. With hesitation, however, there was no evident indication of rejection. It was inescapable. My hands were raised to signal William. I drew him nearer, placing a kiss upon the quivering lips of William. The surprise caused him to tense, but after an extended interval, I sensed his lips respond gently, yet fervently, or breathing intertwined, and I recognized that the imperceptible relationship between Ashad changed. William, now resolved, no longer hesitated, and enveloped me in his embrace, drawing me closer into his grasp with enough intensity that I could perceive his heartbeat resonating throughout the world. The exterior diminished, leaving only us in the experiences of the present. I perceived every throbbing heartbeat, each burst of tingling warmth as William passed his hands through my damp hair. "I should not have," I murmured. Once more, yet my tone was overwhelmed by emotion, and I did not respond. I merely gazed intently into his eyes, where the illumination of capitulation emerged. An instant later, we were both engaged in an extended, moory, ardent kiss, devoid of inhibitions, and the rationale was obliterated from that time onward. All constraints, The barriers between him and me were obliterated. We collided with one, another without any hesitation. As thought, the external world was absent thereafter. This persisted. In the ensuing days, the house transformed into a personal sanctuary where all apprehensions and hesitations vanished. Whenever he entered the room, the sensation of burning in my eyes accelerated my heartbeat. I distinctly perceived each swift inhalation, each forceful gesture he made as though he desired to inscribe his likeness upon. Meet first the sensation of apprehension, and dread of the possibility of being discovered persisted, although the fervor progressively alleviated all concerns we experienced. An intense passion with each encounter, which constituted an opportunity to engage in indivisible emotion. She had deeply induced me to forget all. Factors converging to elevate me to the pinnacle of an unprecedented delight. The house appeared to illuminate, no longer a tranquil location, but one that observed. The greatest ardent, fervent instances shared between us days elapsed each afternoon. When the soft sunlight permeated through, I waited at the window, awaiting his arrival home. All my senses were invigorated. Upon hearing his voice, the sound of footfall evokes a sense of anticipation that caused my heart to flutter. We did not merely convene in the darkness throughout the mornings. Our gazes converged. I was acutely aware of my profound love and was unable to reverse our course. We proceeded as such, embracing one another firmly every minute until I completed my college education. As if time had ceased leaving, alone the two of us to disclose the fervent secrets within that residence, and now I am uncertain if I can revert to the previous state. The life I formerly recognized tranquility was obliterated by this intriguing relationship. I felt like an individual adrift amongst the tumult of emotions. Recollections devoid of awareness of what transpired upon. Reflection, I discovered what was erroneous. I contemplate whether I can ever recover the purity and naivety of that era, or whether the scars of those days will ever follow me here. Is my counsel for all: do not succumb to the temptations that may arise in your life from any location, or any individual instances of impulsivity may provide ephemeral pleasure, and the cost you pay may compromise your tranquility and your future. When confronted with a crossroads between rationality and sentiment, consider whether it is worthwhile to engage in the trade of significant values you have cultivated and hold dear. Consider what you own and deliberate thoughtfully before proceeding, dedicating yourself to an endeavor that could result in regret. Transient experiences, profoundly obscure the long-term future emotions, can sometimes cause us to overlook the prolonged implications. For sustainability, relationships are founded on trust, fidelity, and authenticity. Every decision possesses repercussions, and the persistent moral awareness is the most challenging to remedy. Consider the individuals in your vicinity. Those who care for you and yourself do not compromise your tranquility of cognition for a fleeting impulse. Emotions are exquisite phenomena. Nonetheless, they can readily mislead you if you are not composed, lucid, and resilient in each decision you render.